Hello there, everyone. Welcome to episode 95 of the Play to Win podcast show. We break down the week's biggest gaming news through in-depth discussion. My name is Tyler. I am your host this week, and I'm joined, of course, by my co-host over here, Tyler, as well. How are you doing, dude? What's going on with you this week?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I rolled my ankle this week. Actually, I forgot to mention that.
Wait,
It
what?
was by roll it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I sprained it. Like this, I have glass ankles though. My ankles will just roll out of nowhere. Like it's incredibly painful, and it's not the funnest thing ever to have. But yeah. And so like my ankle looked like fucking softball just for like a couple days. I couldn't walk the first day really. Like I walked, but I was in a lot of pain and I don't have health care. So anyone that's like, why didn't you go to the hospital? I'm like, listen, I've done this enough. I know, like, because when you do it, it sounds like you broke it for sure. You're like, oh man, because you're probably just hearing the cartilage and the pop and whatever.
Yeah.
But every time you do it, it's so incredibly painful. And this one was probably the worst it's been in a while. But I was like, the swelling had me worried a little bit, but I was like, I'm pretty sure we're good here. I just waited it out, and now I can walk with only a tinge of pain.
So, question: where in your house are you like stairs, no stairs, all one level?
So we have stairs. Yes, it's a two-story. But it did not happen on the stairs. It happened outside. I was like bringing in something, and it wasn't because I don't think it's because I tripped or I didn't trip for sure, but I don't think there was anything there that I stepped on. It's just like I said, I have glass ankles. Every once in a while, I'll just feel my ankle like give out and I just like drop.
No, yeah, I was asking because I was gonna be like, so like when it came to go up the stairs, you just like have to crawl up the stairs like the cats.
No, I mean,
like slide your way down.
Luckily, we have the railing, so it's just kind of like putting all the pressure on your on. It happened on my right ankle too, which is the worst because like obviously I'm a right-handed, right dominant, but yeah, just like using all the power on your left to like make it easy to just the right's basically dead weight. It's like learning to walk with a limp essentially. Like just hey, we're not using this one as little as possible. And don't get me wrong, it was still very painful and just minimizing the trips up and downstairs. Like all right, we got 3 times we're going up and down the stairs today, and then by day 2 it was like, okay, it's gotten a little better. And then by like yesterday, I was like, okay, swelling is pretty much entirely gone. Now it's just a little painful. And today it's slightly less painful. So it's just.
Okay. At least you're doing better.
Yeah.
You're
ankle
doing
talk.
better. That's good. Ankle talk, ankle vibes out here. Oh man. Has not happened to me, thankfully. I've only ever sprained my wrist. Nothing with my ankle though. I'm very happy about that. Your experience.
All right, Mr. Iron Ankles in your.
No, I'm certain there have been times where I've come close to hurting my ankles. There have been times I've come close, but it hasn't happened.
Did you play basketball at all? Because man, that's the worst.
The most was like gym class, but gym class, they were playing stuff, whatever, but like not really outside of that.
Second worst time I ever did it was playing basketball in Tucson out there hooping, and just like the worst part is I did it and I got away with a real mild one at first, and then I went back out there and kept playing, and then I did it then it was incredibly painful, and I was worried I broke it.
Funny thing though, actually, times I sprained my wrist was from playing basketball. Oddly enough, that's how that happened. That's what
sports can be dangerous sometimes,
right? And that's what you come to Play with a podcast for. Obviously, sports talk and ankle injuries and all like that. Fun vibes over here.
So our job is to entertain here. All right, at the end of the day,
that is our job here. If you like being entertained by us, subscribe over on podcast services and on YouTube. Hit that notification bell on YouTube. Leave that 5-star review and let us know in the comments. How much you love these random, conversations that we have at the start of episodes, how funny they are, how entertaining they are. We love to do it.
Do you like the slice of life stuff more than you like getting straight to the news?
If you like that stuff, we could maybe, fit a bit more of that into the episode. If you enjoy that, we'd be happy to do that. This week, though, bit of a light news week. Very light news week. Oddly light in the sense that
statement of the year there.
Yeah, we were both like, wait, are we missing anything? Is anything like left off this list of things to talk about? But no, neither of us thinks we're crazy. It was just a bit of a light week. So we'll be talking about January's NPDs. We'll have a couple brief mentions to go through. Some of them may lead to a mini discussion of sorts. Most of them will not. And then we will wrap the episode up by talking about what we have been playing. We have each played new things for finally for a bit.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no more from me talking about Hi-Fi Rush. I would have given it a 9 out of 10. I was gonna say that right now. I'm not gonna do the review. Would have been a 9 out of 10 for me. Love that game. But yeah, that's this episode. That's the layout. That's the game plan. If you're ready, Tyler, to start talking about NPDs, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So NPDs from Matt Piscatella. It's been a while since we've done this on the show, and I don't think I've done it with you. I like doing the NPD conversations though, because it's nice getting an idea of how games are performing in terms of sales and everything in the US. And then also other little like tidbits of information as well to go along with it. It's fun doing these, and whenever we would do it, me and Kieran, I would always pull it up and have him, guess like kind of like the top 10 at the very least, see what fell in there. It's a good thing you have not looked at them.
But I can't lie, I know Dead Space is number one.
You are incorrect on that.
It said, I swear, I read a headline that said Dead Space is number one selling game in January.
It was not. Okay. It was damn near number one, but it was not number one.
All
right.
Interesting. I wonder if the article I was reading was accounting for digital sales then. NPDs do not like fully account for everything.
NPDs don't have digital sales for Nintendo games or some others. But yeah, so it'll include digital sales only if the publisher gives digital sales. EA
so EA might not have.
Well, EA does. They would have had the asterisks there for it. For like if a game didn't have the digital sales. So Dead Space was not number one, though. It was very close. The only thing that could have been number one instead of Dead Space could have been.
Let's just keep rattling them off here. Okay, so we got Dead Space confirmed top 10. MW2 for sure.
MW2 is number one.
Okay, yep, makes sense.
So Dead Space, if not
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
That's on here? Yep.
Give
not
me a
in
second.
the top 10 though.
You did give me no GTA 5, which that one had been there for the longest time, just hanging on. Right. I'm trying to think what was real popular at the end. Oh, no, that was because that's February. Trying to think what was real popular at the end of last year. Damn it.
All right, well, let me give you more hints, okay? So you could kind of like raise some of the thoughts in, all right? 4 of the games in the top 10 were brand new releases for January, okay? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is number 1. Okay. Yeah. Number 2 is a brand new January release.
I already said Dead Space, right?
Dead Space is number 2.
Yeah, okay. I was already counting that one. I got 3. Okay. Dead Space, MW2, and
Mario Kart is not in the top 10 though. Mario Kart is number 14.
Oh, Mario Kart's not top 10.
No, okay. It's top 20, but
I'm only aiming for top 10, so just tell me if it's not. Don't give me it. Well, fuck it. Let's keep guessing Nintendos. We're not perfect yet. So, Animal Crossing?
No, not here.
Top 20, but not top 10?
Not top 20 at all.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised a lot of these Nintendo staples getting kicked off.
There are 2 Nintendo games in the top 10. One is a brand new release.
What the fuck released? I'm just going to have to look up. I'm going to look up game releases. Obviously, I'm not going to try and cheat here and be like, oh.
Well, let's see. What is one Nintendo game that would almost certainly be here, even if it didn't release? I
named them already. We already said.
There is another Nintendo game, huge one, huge sales. Not Animal Crossing, not Mario Kart. Came out last year, end of last year. Was a hot topic.
Oh, Pokemon.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are number 10.
Are 10?
Yep, dropped down from number 2 in December.
Oh, okay. So Forspoken's obviously in there.
Forspoken is in the top 10.
Yep. So that's 4. You said 3 were brand new releases?
4 were brand new releases for January.
Oh, 4.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and guess One Piece Odyssey.
One Piece Odyssey is in here. Yes. One Piece is at.
Yep.
Now that we have some things, I'm going to start saying where everything is. That way, everything that we've said so far.
Yeah, I can piece together kind of like what this.
So number 1 is Modern Warfare 2. Number 2 is Dead Space. Number 7 is Forspoken. Okay. Number 9 is One Piece. Number 10 is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So you're missing 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
Is Hi-Fi Rush on there?
Hi-Fi Rush is not on here.
Okay, I didn't think it was, but I'm trying to come up with the fourth one that it would be.
I said 2 of the games on the top 10 are Nintendo games.
I'm not seeing any new Nintendo releases. I'm like, unless
there was a new Nintendo release in January.
There was?
There was.
Hold on, give me a sec. Maybe the list I'm looking at is not including everything.
You probably wouldn't think of it because you're so not into this game or this series at all.
Wait, is it one of the Persona releases? Oh no, Fire Emblem Engage. How did I skip that?
Fire Emblem
Engage. Honestly, my eyes just looking at the whole list, it like blurs together.
Fire Emblem Engage, number 5.
How many is that we have? So I got all 4 new releases, Pokemon.
Yep, we're missing
2. So that's 6 out of 10, right?
We're missing this number 3, number 4, 6, and 8.
Okay. Well, time to just start throwing darts.
2 of these are sports games.
2 of them are sports games?
Yes.
So FIFA and 2K?
FIFA is at number 4. 2K is not on here.
Madden
is number 3.
Had to been Super Bowl boost. That makes sense. Like playoff Super Bowl.
Right. And I mean, the sports games are always like in the top 10 as well. Like,
yeah, it's hard with sports because FIFA is usually in there. 2K does really well. So I'm surprised, but like it probably just seasonally isn't quite at its peak yet. And then we've got 2 left. Assassins. Huh?
I was gonna give you a hint just to
all right,
point you in the right direction. This will give it away for you. Just a matter of their positioning. The 2 that are left are last year's juggernauts.
Last year's juggernauts? Okay, so Ragnarok.
Right.
And Elden Ring.
Ragnarok and Elden Ring. So now the only spots we have left are 6 and 8. Who do you think was in which one?
I thought we already had those. We just got 4. We just knocked out 4 right there, and I'd already guessed 6, correct?
No, 4 was FIFA. Madden was number 3.
And then Ragnarok and Elden Ring.
Ragnarok and Elden Ring, those are the last 2 in the top 10, but where do they go in the top 10? The only slots we have left are number 6 and number 8.
Ragnarok's probably 6, Elden Ring's 8, right? Or no, I mean, Elden Ring's huge. So yeah, I was about to say, so watch Elden Ring be higher.
Yep. So for clarity now, the top 10 looks like this. Number 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 2, Dead Space. Number 3, Madden. Number 4, FIFA. Number 5, Fire Emblem Engage. Without digital sales, it's number 5. With digital sales, it could be even higher. Number 6 is Elden Ring. Number 7 is Forspoken. Number 8 is Ragnarok. Number 9 is One Piece Odyssey. And number 10 is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
I just want to clarify something about Fire Emblem. No offense to Fire Emblem fans, but let's be real. Those dorks are not getting digital copies. Like, I'm sure there's some sales, but that feels like a series. I mean, as much as Nintendo in general feels like a series that is predominantly physical, but like Fire Emblem especially feels like that is part of their, like, I want physical, like Pokemon, you can see a lot of people just being like, fuck it, who cares? Because there's so many people that want it. Fire Emblem, I feel like, is for a very niche audience, even though it sells well, of course. So like a lot of those people are like, we're going to go get physical copies.
Interesting. I wouldn't think of it like that. I imagine just in this day and age that, the digital sales boost is just going to be huge just in general because, digital sales are increasing across the board. So yeah, I imagine like a significant amount of digital sales for Fire Emblem Engage, especially since while it's not, I guess you could say like it's the next main live Fire Emblem after Three Houses, and Three Houses was like a giant explosion in popularity for the series as well. Like I can imagine that there was a significant amount of digital sales for Engage. So like if those were included, maybe it wouldn't be over. Maybe it wouldn't be over Madden as well. Maybe
is releasing a game that important in January like a death blow? I mean, is Nintendo disappointed by a 5th finish in January?
I doubt it.
Is this the weakest month
for this game?
NPD reporting?
For what?
I'm saying, do you think that this is probably the weakest sales month of the year? It's got to be this or like July or August, right? You'd think? But those probably get
I don't know.
those probably get the out of school boost. I would assume. It's weird that the
I mean,
video
it
game
all depends
industry.
on. It just really depends on what releases in a given month. Just game wise, hardware
Yeah, but we
wise,
can
and
look
all.
at historically trends of what releases early. Like the only significant January releases that I can probably name on one. Can you name on one hand the significant January releases like that actually affected anything in your lifetime? Because the ones I can remember are Mass Effect 2 was big, Dead Space, the remake and 2, ironically, and Resident Evil Village. That was 7, right? No,
Seven,
7
seven
was
was January. Seven
just
was
Biohazard.
January. Yes.
So Biohazard is the one I meant. Can't think of anything else.
Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts
Sorry,
3.
Fire Emblem. You don't count.
Kingdom Hearts 3 was January 29th in the
Oh, that's a good pull.
wide.
But even then, they're like, even them with both them and Dead Space, they're like, but towards the end of January, you know what I mean? They're like,
yeah,
people don't want to play games right after New Year. I think there might even be psychological levels to that of like, well, a lot of people's New Year's resolutions is to go out and exercise more. Like the whole West Coast, I'm assuming, is just like, fuck this. We're not playing video games. Now, Midwest, East Coast, it's so cold and snowy. You might not be able to do anything else anyways, but
I mean, hey, times are changing. People are seeing now, like, hey, there's more months in the year aside from September to November, and
personally,
March.
I hate January, so I'm fine with them like not.
This will give you a reason to like here.
Like
January.
if you had to rank your 12 months, where's January slotting in for you? It's towards the bottom of the barrel for me. Not worse than July though. July can get fucked.
I'm a bit biased because my birthday's in January, so like January is I don't know where.
Oh, sorry, no offense, but
no, I don't know where I would rank it because like I never really thought about it. I don't like January because it's wintertime, it's cold, and I don't like the cold. But my birthday's in January, so it gets a bit of a bump because of that. You know what I mean?
It's funny, just because you're a lifelong New Yorker, essentially. Outside of that, you said you in college. I just always assume you like the cold. I always forget, like, no, oh yeah, some people just.
I don't like it at all. I hate the cold. I'm not a fan of it. Far from it.
You love New York, so.
I want to say though, real quick about these NPDs. Number one, Dead Space being number 2, that is great.
Yeah, without late in the month they released, that's pretty impressive.
Like that, I think that should be a sign to EA. Hey, keep going with Dead Space. Don't just let this be a one-off remake and let the series go back to being dead. Like keep it alive. Do something more with the series, whether you remake 2 or make a new sequel for that go takes the series in a new direction of sorts. I don't know, but the Dead Space IP is clearly, wanted by many people. So keep it alive, keep it going.
Yeah,
that's number one.
I would say, if anything, like, I mean, it's weird though because 1 and 2 of the first time around did well, and it's like. Maybe it's just a game that shouldn't be sequelized to hell. You know what I mean? Like people were just also EA did all the multiplayer shit with 3 and it just got worse and worse. So also don't do that, EA. This is like people like this series. People like horror. I mean, horror sells well in movie theaters. Why wouldn't it sell well in video games? But
yeah, stay true to what Dead Space is. Don't go off the rails. Okay. You got a second chance here. And also for me, at least, I think One Piece Odyssey coming in at number 9. I mean, it's an anime game. Anime games sell well regardless. Well, yeah. But I mean, like I think I told you this before. We talked about One Piece Odyssey in the past. It's great to me that it sold as well as it did because it's a anime game that's kind of doing something different, and I'm happy to see an anime game do something different that's not just a 3D arena fighter game. It's a turn-based JRPG. So I'm happy that on that level it's thriving, and I hope that's a sign to other companies that you can do anime games that are different genres that aren't just
It's fucking wild how little effort goes into most anime games. Like obviously, no disrespect to the developers, I'm sure your job's not fun or easy, but like there's zero creativity. There's no like real ambition with those ever. It just seems like like you said, they're all 3D arena fighters.
And that's not to say that like they're not good games or anything like that, but I'm here nice to see something different. It would be nice to see something more from them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, before this, if you wanted to anime the game, you pretty much have to go play Persona.
To an extent, yeah. Couple other little tidbits here from the NPDs before we wrap up this conversation here. Last of Us Part 1 is number 11, up from place 36 in December. That's the show right
That
there.
show bump, yeah.
That show bump for sure.
Real.
Matt Piscatella also has a couple other little details for us here. That US video game hardware spending was flat compared to a year ago at $393 million. But there was growth in the PS5 and Switch hardware spending that was offset by declines across other platforms. The PS5 was the US's best-selling hardware platform for January in both unit and dollar sales, with the Switch coming second across both measures. And Benji Sales over on Twitter, if you all know him or you don't know him, he also covers like data and all like this across the industry. He has some more information here. So the PS5 was also the number one platform in the UK, up 98% year over year. And it was number one in Europe, with sales up 202% year over year. PS5 is doing great right now. And
yeah, I mean, it's selling gangbusters. It is also a testament to how fucking well the Switch is sold, that this is like, it gets to the PS. It's like, oh, the PS5 beat the Switch. And it's like, yeah, because the Switch does numbers. That's why it's notable. Again, we said this last week, but it is hilarious that this is what right after the Wii U just absolutely bombed, that the Switch is sold this well. But yeah, like, I mean, consoles still sell well too. I think that's important to note. Yes. I like Xboxes have sold well, but I do think there's something to the strategy of like pretending like which one it is doesn't matter. I think it kind of matters. I think Xbox is overselling, underestimating how stupid some people are. People see PS4, they want PS5. Like, it's boring, but give Sony fucking credit. They're like, guys, I think we just throw a new number on the end of it. Like, I think it's really that simple.
We don't need to go from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation Neo, because then it's like, what?
And Nintendo just gets away with it because they're Nintendo. It's like, make something that's smart and practical. To be fair, I'm also a Wii U defender. I think the Wii U is a good system, even if they botched aspects of it for sure. But, you know, like, it was just a little too ahead of its time, a little too clunky. And God, the marketing was terrible. The name was terrible. The marketing was terrible. But that all came to roost finally, all those ideas and kind of that effort with the Switch. But it's just like, they're the exception. They're the only people that get away with these dumbass names. Like,
yeah, it also helps that like their name, like they have a different name, but also like their systems are significantly different from their predecessor. Whereas with PlayStation and Xbox, for the most part, generally, it's a black box. it's a black box that might look slightly different from the last one.
Well,
whereas like with Nintendo, you have like the NES and the SNES look somewhat similar, but then you have the N64 and the GameCube, which look drastically different. Then the Wii, which is drastically different, and the Wii U, which was weird but different, and then the Switch. Like, it helps that everything that they have, it's very clearly different. There is no like, is this the new one or is that the new one? There's no type of confusion of any sort. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's it for January NPDs. Let's get into this week's light news with, a number of brief mentions here, some of which we'll talk about, some of which
brief mention party.
Yeah. Woo. First up, Hogwarts Legacy is out, selling very well, doing crazy numbers we talked about last week. As of right now, though, there are no plans for DLC. Whether or not that will change in the future, unknown. The team was saying that essentially that they were kind of heads down, focused on getting the game out, done as good as it can be. So they weren't really thinking about DLC before. Right now, they're not. I could see it going either way with how well the game is selling. It'd be kind of silly to not do DLC. But at the same time, I could see them saying, we are done. We sipped it out the door. Let's just only do patches and not have to worry about any more controversy unless we do a sequel sometime down the road. Let's just avoid controversy for the time being. I can see them
it's
also
interesting
having that mindset.
Because ultimately, and that's going to be corporate's call,
right?
And because it's selling gangbusters, you think they'd kind of green light that. Although I wonder if DLC is so negatively associated that they're like, we don't want that to diminish the game. You know what I mean? Like people may see DLC and be like, ugh.
I feel like people probably would have had that mindset if like DLC was announced before the game came out. If they're like, yeah, if it's post game, that's the thing. When it comes to DLC, people always have that negative, reaction when it's like pre-launch. The game hasn't even come out yet, but you're announcing it. But like if it's announced after a game comes out, people are way more receptive to it because it removes that mindset of content that was cut from the game just to be released at a later date. If it's announced after, it's like, oh, you all made this after the game has come out, like that. So
yeah,
that's why I fall on
maybe. I don't know. You'd think it just would have been greenlit then at this point, but
exactly. That's why it's surprising. Like, oh wow, they don't have any more. That's interesting, but who knows? I think at some point there will be some, but I won't be surprised if there's not. I don't
probably. I mean, the game is unfortunately doing really well, sales wise.
Yeah. Inkopolis coming to Splatoon 3 on February 28th as part of the game's first wave of DLC. This was announced during the Nintendo Direct. Now we have an actual date. Wave 2 at some point later on in the year. Dead Island 2 made the smart call. They went gold and they said, you know what? To avoid Star Wars, we'll release before Star Wars. So Dead Island 2 is now releasing April 21st. Smart move. You're 2 days after Horizon's DLC, though. So, I mean, you're still kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, but you're in a better spot than you were the day of Star Wars.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to forget Horizon DLC is coming out, if I'm being real.
Okay, to be fair, I love Horizon. I keep forgetting that DLC is coming out in April as well.
Same. Every time I go to look at the calendar, I'm like, oh, yeah, Horizon DLC.
Yeah, this week.
Probably play that.
This week, I was thinking, I was like, March is an empty month for me in terms of game releases I'm going to buy. April, I was like, April is too until the end. I was like, I feel like there's something I'm missing. I looked at the calendar. I was like, oh no, Horizon.
The first half of this year is like, we thought it was going to be loaded, and now it's like kind of sparse. Other than the gangbang of releases at end of April, beginning of May, it's like, guys, come on, jeez.
Well, again, that's the thing. Like, there are some in March. It's just like what you're interested in. Like, Wolong is there, Resident Evil is there. There's 2 other in March I'm blanking on as well.
Is two games though like really the bar we're gonna set here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's fine. I don't think it's like, oh, there's nothing, but I also don't think it's like, oh, whoa, March. It's just kind of like that's probably the bar, right? 2 semi-major, like Resident Evil, to be clear, is very major, but like Wolong, even though it does look cool and I'll definitely play it on Game Pass, check it out. I don't know if I'd be like, yeah, Wolong, that's a major release. It's like, of course, it's by a pretty big publisher and everything, but it's like the fact that it's on Game Pass, I think, speaks probably to their expectations of sales. You know what I mean? That they were like, yeah, you know what? We will take that Xbox money.
We'll take it, get the boost, and keep on going about our business.
Can't blame them. Like, if you're looking at them here and you're going, let's not bet on ourselves, guys. Let's take free money.
Are you feeling good about Dead Island 2? I haven't seen much for it really in recent weeks. I'm gonna play it, not at launch, but I hope it's good.
This is definitely for me probably a money thing. Do I have the money? And how bored am I? Am I playing something? Am I invested in something else that week before Star Wars? Right?
Yeah. Like, are you playing Horizon?
I'll probably procrastinate playing the Fallen Order until then. So it'll probably be a no for me, purely based off, oh shit, I got to play Fallen Order, and I'll be playing Fallen Order the week before Fallen Order comes out. So really, they should have gone 2 weeks before.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to be getting it day one. It'll be a later in the year purchase for me because I know like that
Black Friday $20 special.
Probably just like Dying Light was for me. Dying Light 2, I mean, and I still
that was the plan for me. And then I just like didn't have the money. I thought I was buying Christmas presents and just unforeseen shit. And it was like, I'm not really going to make a lot of Black Friday purchases, which means Dying Light 2, it's been real, but I'll download you when you're eventually free on PS Plus.
A new Civilization game has been announced. Just we don't know whether or not it's a mainline entry or like a spinoff of sorts, but a new one's coming. Valheim has been announced to be coming to Xbox in March, and it will be on Game Pass day one. Speaking of Game Pass, the UK Competition and Markets Authority has put out a provisional report on the Activision Blizzard acquisition, which includes confirmation from Microsoft admitting that putting games on Game Pass leads to decreased sales for the game in the following year. Now, this kind of like goes in the opposite, the reverse of what they kind of Microsoft said a couple years ago, that yeah, you put games on Game Pass and we see increased sales for the game and everything like that. And it's one of those things where, for you kind of like, you want to take their word on it because they see the data and everything
Oh,
like
I never
that.
took their word on it.
It's like that's the you want to take their word for it, but at the same time, like logically, it doesn't make the most sense that it would lead to increased sales. Like to an extent, okay, I could buy like, oh, you try the game out, you like it, I'll buy it so I actually own it. But at the same time, it's like, why would someone do that when they can just play through the entire game and then they're done with it and not have to spend money on it? So like this makes sense.
Like the average consumer 1,000% feels exactly that way. They buy Game Pass as a replacement for buying games.
Yeah.
And the weirdos like me that don't mind double dipping on a game, it's going to be physical. And ironically enough, we're probably going to the other platform because like if you played it on Xbox already, you got the achievements on Game Pass, you can now go get trophies on PlayStation, or if you're a big Nintendo person and it's available on Switch, you'll get it on Switch. And then half the time, those games will be like a lot of the games you're playing on Game Pass will be these smaller digital titles that sometimes don't even have a release. And as much as I like the developer, I'm not paying $20 to just get nothing. I'm not just tipping the developer for fun. So it's like, I just don't understand how that actually increases sales in any capacity. And I feel like what this headline is probably even underselling, I would guess, how much it's kind of cannibalized their especially first party sales. Like nobody, I've been waiting for, I keep missing it, but every time Infinite goes for sale on sale for like $5 or $10, I'm like, I want to get it for my collection. But that's what I'm doing for all these Microsoft first party games. I like them. I want them in my collection, but that can wait till it's $10. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the only Xbox game I have purchased since I have bought my Series X, it's Forza Horizon 5. And that was a mistake. Why was that a mistake? Because the whole game was not on the disc. So I had to download the rest anyway. And that annoyed the mess out of me. So then I was like, well, I'm not going to buy Halo because watch that not be on the disc. Turns out it wasn't. So I'm just sitting here like, man, am I going to actually buy any Xbox games? Because honestly, if they're not going to be on the disc, like Xbox first party, I mean, if they're not on the disc, why am I doing that? I'm like, just to get them off Game Pass. And
to be fair, you're in a very niche. I feel like you're a very small slice because it's mostly people going digital. Most of the pie chart here is people going digital, or people like me who are just like, I just want honestly the fucking box on the disc. You know what I mean? We're just like,
I prefer physical entirely. I always prefer physical. It's just for me. Yes, there's the convenience of like digital. You download it, you can have it there before you ready to go, at midnight that day and all. But for me, I prefer physical because one, I like, I could give it to anyone I want to. That's a more minor thing though. For me, it's the thing of my internet tends to be pretty good, but sometimes it cannot be great. And when, downloads can take pretty long times. So having the physical disc, I just pop it in my system. I don't have to worry about waiting forever for the game, for the full game to download or anything. I just pop the disc in, it'll install off the disc. There might be an update that has to be done, but the update won't take as long to download as the full entire game. And that is just always way more convenient for me than having to, spend however long downloading.
No, I completely understand the logic. What I'm saying is they know they can get away with it because it's all people like me or people that are just going full digital. And the people like me have accepted that we're getting it purely for cosmetic and collections. We know that it's not even more fucking convenient. We've accepted that now. We know that there's a 30 gig download still coming every time we pop in a disc. So it's like most of the people in your situation that don't really care about the collection aspect and we're more doing it for the practical reasons. I think those people have already jumped ship and gone to digital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe gone the other way and been realized and been like, yeah, I'm just collecting. But so I think you're kind of in a weird middle crowd there.
Yeah, and it's like that's the thing. Like there sometimes, like there are games I get digitally. Like if it's a game like, say for example, Tomb Raider, the 2013's Tomb Raider, I got that one digitally because I was like, I don't care about having the physical release, whatever. It's a game. I will play it once and delete it and never play it again. I don't care.
Those are the best to have physically.
Not when I want space.
Oh, that's I. You know what? Not New Yorker talking. I'm sorry. I know you guys have space at a premium.
But so yeah, so like that's part of it. But like when it comes to buying games digitally, in more recent years, there have been times where I've thought about, you know what, I'm just gonna get it digitally. That way, I get like whatever. Like I get the earlier access to it. I get like 3 days early access or whatnot, or I can have it ready to go at midnight. I don't have to wait to like go into the store to pick it up. Then not playing until like 12 p.m. the next day or something like that. Like
I'm not gonna lie to you, it's fucking sweet having Atomic Heart preloaded on my Xbox ready.
I mean,
to go,
I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing on my Xbox as well. I have it. I set it to preload. I just haven't turned my Xbox on in a bit, so the next time I turn it on, it will do the actual download for it. But yeah, no, I mean, back to the whole thing here, just like cannibalizing sales, decreased sales. It makes sense. It's not like a surprise that that's the case because logically, like, it just makes sense that that's what would happen logically. Yeah. PS Plus Extra / Premium games that are coming this month, February 21st. For the extra category, you'll have Horizon Forbidden West, The Quarry, Resident Evil 7, Outriders, Scarlet Nexus, Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, Ace Combat 7, The Forgotten City, Ion Setsuna, Lost Sphere, Earth Defense Force 5, and Oninaki. And then the premium tier, some classic games. We have The Legend of Dragoon, Wild Arms 2, Harvest Moon Back to Nature, and Destroy All Humans. I think there's a solid set of games here. Specifically, like the extra category has a really solid set of games. It's nice getting Horizon in there at last, about a year later. That's a great add. Resident Evil 7, moving it from the PlayStation Plus collection to extra. Cool. Scarlet Nexus, great game. Forgotten City, I've heard nothing but great things about. Good set of stuff here. The Quarry, if you haven't bought it yet, like here's a way to play it if you're subbed to PS Plus Extra. In the premium tier with the classics, I know people have been asking for Legend of Dragoon for so long, so it's awesome. I know that they're happy to see that there. I think it's a good month for the extra and premium tiers for PlayStation Plus. If I'm just going by my own estimation.
Yeah. I mean, it's still getting its ass whooped by Game Pass, but perfectly fine one.
Yeah, it's doing its best. Doing its best over here now. You remember the Smash Killer? The game people were saying was going to be a Smash Killer, MultiVersus?
Yeah.
You remember that one? Unfortunately, its Steam player count is like bad. It's really bad. It had a peak of 986 players earlier this week. For reference, it launched with a peak of 143,000 players, which became 153,433 the day after launch. So this drop to 986 peak players is a 99.3574% decrease since launch on Steam. I can only imagine what it's like on consoles. And from the things I've been reading, people, I think players or have been like attributing this to the fact that season 3 hasn't really added much content. They haven't got a new character since November. No, I think it's still in season 2. Season 3 hasn't launched yet, I believe. The point is, the game has not seen any new characters since November, and they only added one new character back then, that being Martian the Manhunter. And season 3, this current season has been extended to like a couple weeks. So people are like, what's like, dire state. People are just like, leaving the game and all. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Live service games are brutal. I think like we're gonna have a point where developers stop doing this shit because, to be fair, I don't think it's all necessarily developers because this was Warner Brothers. But at the end of the day, I think studio executives are just gonna like see the pattern of like, oh, they don't all work. If anything, the ones that stay around forever are the exception. Like what Fortnite does is fucking hard, man. What Apex does is hard. Like it's hard to keep people's attention for that long. And obviously those games experience peaks and valleys, but even its valleys are still profitable enough, and there's enough players playing, but it's hard to get into that space. And I think just you naturally have an advantage being a shooter versus being a fighting game.
And the thing is, like, you have to, it also comes with the fact that, some of these games, they have the teams and the budgets to support them and like just go all in on that one game and all. They have the staff to do that. Whereas, some of these games, it seems like they come into the space with expectations of we're going to be the next big thing. And it's just like, well, no, let's go with expectations of let's hope we get people and maybe we become the next big thing. Don't go in thinking we're going to be the next viral hit. Virality doesn't, you don't make virality happen. It happens on its own. You know what I mean? It just happens naturally. So
yeah, this is like capitalism in a nutshell though. Like video games had a very simple system of like, you want game, you pay game, and like boiling it down to almost like that's just how all interactions work, how trade works, essentially. And essentially going free to play, it's like, well, how does this work? And it's like, it's just like crypto. It's eventually there's a fucking crash coming and like 3 guys are going to end up rich. That's how all free to play stuff works well. And then there's always people like out money and stuff. I mean, even look at, if you're going to do this, do it the way that, Knockout City did it. They still charged $30 for that game. And I don't think anyone that paid it, I'm certainly not, upset, but I'm sure it's easier for them to ultimately cut their losses and move on than it is for a game that's like free to play. And they both had bigger backing in the sense that like Warner Brothers for this, EA for Knockout City. But I'm sure it helped financially that studio that did Knockout City, being able to charge that $30, getting a cut of all those sales, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And like, MultiVersus, it has, I think like it has potential, to end up being really great. I'm not a big fan of it personally. I feel like it's just, I think there are good ideas. It just either didn't click with me or it's just, I don't want to say it's a poor man's Smash. I think it's like one of the best attempts at a Smash like that's not Smash. It has good ideas, good properties behind it, and all like that good, set of characters and all. It just wasn't for me. So I mean, they have a litany of characters they can choose from. Like, there's no reason why there should only be one new character being added in like 3 months. Like, there should definitely be more characters being added to the game in that time span. So I hope it lives, but at this point, again, you gotta wonder, how long do you think MultiVersus is gonna be around? Like, do you think it'll be around this time next year? Would you think it'll be around the end of 2024? Like,
no, because they don't have another move, right? Like, the move usually when you're dying is go free to play. When you're already free to play, what are you supposed to do? And it is ironic, like this game obviously is a quote unquote better game than the Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl. But I bought that game. They got $40 from me. I played it, had some fun, got the platinum, pretty easy platinum, which was nice. And it was like, and then I moved on. Yeah, sure, that game wasn't the world's best game, but I did also feel like it respected my time. Whereas I feel like being free to play, even though you can play 5 minutes and quit, to get anything, to get enjoyment out of it, it's like, it just feels like from the start, they're like, well, we want you to always be here. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to always be here. You're not respecting my time in that sense versus like get in, get out. I play, 10, 12 hours, whatever I got for $40 for Nickelodeon. I was completely fine with that.
Yeah. Speaking of respecting our time, I wonder if Ubisoft will respect our time when they go to E3, if E3 happens, because they say they'll be there if E3 happens. They say they're gonna have a lot to show.
Their average game runtime is 100 hours. No, they don't respect their time.
So, like, they say they're gonna be there with a lot to show. This is like unofficial E3 predictions. Like, what do you hope or expect from them at E3 if they go?
Hope. I like they have some IPs I care about. Like a new South Park game would be sick.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
New Rayman would be sick. I'm not a big, like, I've never played Beyond Good and Evil, but it always seemed like something that's super cool. So like seeing if 2 exists in any state, that's not some crypto scam, like that'd be sweet, you know.
Do you think that's a money laundering scheme at this point?
You know,
It's bordering on
it's
it.
always been one. How did I not see that? You know,
At
it's
this
the ones
point,
you want to trust the most that are that are always the real scammers.
Splinter Cell. Well, I mean, I doubt it would be there, but they did announce that remake.
Wouldn't be a pop for me, but like at this point, I just would be a fan of Ubisoft putting out games that people actually enjoy. Other than instead of like every time you hear someone talk about the Division or Rainbow Six Siege, they're like, "Well, I play it a lot," and it's just like that doesn't mean it's a good game,
right? Or a new Assassin's Creed. Like again, nothing against Assassin's Creed, but like it'd be nice to see something different from them instead of just pulling out
Mirage
reliable
cool.
again. Mirage. I mean, we haven't seen gameplay. We saw a CG trailer. The idea of Mirage is cool.
Assassin's Creed is like it's always like a siren because it always releases around release time, and I always feel tempted to like play everything, and then it's like that post game release clarity where you're just like, oh, thank God I didn't spend $60 on that. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a tragedy because it's just like, no, I don't like fucking Assassin's Creed, but those new trailers, somehow the box art always looks cool to me, and I'm just like, oh, maybe this is and then it's like, no, it's not. Like whatever you're playing instead, go buy something else. You'll regret this Assassin's Creed purchase.
One of these days I will start Valhalla. I have not started it yet, but I got it as a Christmas gift. That came out when 2020. Yeah, 2020. Yeah. That sounds right. Jeez. I got it as a Christmas gift that year. I have not started that game because I was so burned out from Odyssey, which I played earlier that year. And I was like, I need a break. And I just haven't had the time to go into it. But I'm hoping
the only one that seems cool to me in retrospect is Origins. But then it's like I could probably play that one solo, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping, that I would like to see Avatar, gameplay from Avatar, Splinter Cell, or new Rayman would be cool. I mean, I'm not a Rayman person, but just again, bringing the IP back in some way, shape, or form would be cool.
I love Origins and Legends, so yeah, bring that shit back.
Do
a 3D platformer, try and make some of that Mario money, baby. Like, I don't care. Give me Rayman in some form. I want to jump in that world.
Do I expect Beyond Good and Evil 2? No. Would it be nice to see as gameplay and not a CG trailer? Yes. Will it happen? God only knows. God only knows what will happen. Yeah, with Ubisoft, I never really know what to expect aside from their old reliables. You can maybe expect something, out of nowhere, but yeah, there's just a lot on their plate right now, but it's like so many things that are still in flux. Do you think Skull and Bones will be there at E3? Do you think that game will still not be out by E3 time?
I 100% believe it will not be there. And I also 100% believe we will see some kind of trailer or something. I'm sure it might even be playable. It's probably the same demo that people played 3 years ago because it's money laundering and or a crypto scheme.
You need that one and Beyond Good and Evil 2 to keep the company afloat. That's what it is. Hopefully they have some good stuff. Final brief mention though, according to sources that spoke with Fox Business, Mr. Bobby Kotick will remain the CEO of Activision Blizzard if the acquisition falls through. Not really a surprise of any sort to me. I mean, I figured this much, but I guess we're getting unofficial confirmation that, hey, this is what will still happen. I guess these sources are saying this to be like, please get this man out of here somehow, some way.
I feel like this is the ultimate galaxy-brained move by Bobby Kotick because there's no way that man wants to still be a CEO, but he also knows how he's got to know how much people fucking hate him. So he's just like, hey guys, I'm still in charge if you don't, because he sees all this news about there's some hiccups with the merger, and he's like, just to let you know, I'm coming back if you don't pass this. And then so he's hoping that people will be like, oh well, we can't let this monster, take over. Like, the ethics of capitalism and monopolization be damned. We don't want the bad guy in charge.
Get him out. Imagine if that was the big brain plan for him.
Or just leave. Listen, this could count as a monopoly, but Bobby Kotick will be back. We got to push it through, guys.
We got to get him out of there. Get him out of there.
The final factor.
Oh man. All right. Let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Tyler, you
Yeah.
want to go first? Let's hear about what you've been playing. You've been playing some Gears this week.
Yeah, I played Gears of War 4, which my first time playing, not like, oh, I played went replaying multiplayer or whatever. I was telling you pre-show, like, yeah, I love Gears of War 1 through 3. Mostly 1 and 2. 3 was like whatever for me, but it's like part of, that's not a gaming gap for me. But I stopped caring about the Xbox. 3 was kind of just whatever. And I certainly didn't have an Xbox One because there was just nothing being released other than Gears and Halo.
And
But
Forza. Don't forget Forza, the trio.
I listen, me personally, I'm gonna forget Forza.
The Trinity. You can't forget the Trinity.
Yeah, I get it. Halo, Gears, Forza, the holy trinity of Microsoft releases. But like that's not a big enough investment or reason to like invest in that box. But Series X, things are changing. So I bought one, and me and my girlfriend were on like a co-op kick for a while there, but we didn't have a second Xbox controller. But I wanted to boot up and like replay Gears 1 through 3 with her, but didn't happen. And then just like this last week, I was really bored looking through. I told you I started a game called Omori, which I'm sure it's cool. This is no shade to the developer, but it's like deep. It's like dark, but it's also bright. It's basically going for like the Earthbound shit where it's like, or Undertale vibe where it's like very bright, cheery, but also about depression and things of that nature. And but it's also very opaque and vague. And I was like trying to figure out what to do. And I was just like, fuck this game right now. Like I'm sure it's a good game. I'll play it eventually. I wanted to buy a physical copy actually, but I was like, oh, maybe this is a good idea to try it first. And I was just like, fuck this game right now. Like I'm not playing this. I need something that's way more mindless. And I was just like, you know what? I never played Gears 4. Let me play it. And I was telling you, like, Gears of War still rips, man. This game rules. Like I like how unabashedly 4 was just more Gears of War. Also, what I was thinking, it's funny, there's so many set pieces and ridiculous things, yet it's still a pretty contained story. 4, it's like
interesting,
short, and it's relatively, it's 9 hours. They're all pretty short, but it's like, not like there's a ton of things technically going on. Like if you lay out the story, you're kind of like, oh yeah, only like truly 5 things happen over the course of this, maybe even less. But at the same time, you end up in a giant mech at the end, fighting. Yeah. And I also like, minor spoilers for Gears of War 4, I guess. It starts out with the whole, and I don't even know if they put this in the marketing, but it's like they start out with the whole like, oh, are you going to be fighting these robots, which you fight them a little bit, but then it's just like, oh yeah, the locusts are back. And honestly, I kind of respect it. Like Halo went the whole like, guys, we need a new enemy. And it's like, I think Halo would have just been fine if they were like, hey, it's the same guys back. And that's kind of what Infinite did. And I respect that almost way more. That Gears is just like, people just want to shoot locusts, man. How about we just make slightly different versions and come up with some bullshit lore reason why they're different, and it's like, I respect the honesty. I respect that the game knows what it is. And then I downloaded and installed 5, and while it's installed, it said ready to play. It wasn't ready to play. All it let me do is play a tutorial, and it felt so different. And I did like that the gameplay was tighter. Like when you play 5, going from 4 to 5, there's a noticeable difference. Because playing 4, you're like, is Gears always kind of this floaty? Like the shooting doesn't feel as tight. No, granted, that's probably because the auto aim isn't like, I'm so used to kind of COD and a lot of other games auto aim. But even like that aside, just the reticles don't feel nice and tight. Like shooting at times can feel like, I think that game really excels with the close-up combat. Like it feels so good chainsawing enemies still.
Never
it's
gets old.
It's the best. That and then the Gnasher. It's like the shotgun and Gears absolutely rules. And so it's interesting how different it felt booting up 5. So I'm definitely like, are there more differences than I forget the marketing. Like, I don't know if they kind of marketed it as completely different, but it's interesting that it would change that much midstream in what, we were talking pre-show is now going to be a trilogy. They're working on the next Gears title. We assume that'll be Gears 6, like in the middle of a trilogy to just, or a third of the way through the trilogy to just be like, we are going to drastically change how this handles and feels. And I'm good with that as long as it doesn't change all those other things about Gears I like. I mean, ultimately, if it does, what am I going to do? But I liked how much 4 felt familiar. Because, yeah, I have a lot of fun. It's, when you're 14 years old, Gears of War seems like the coolest thing of all time. Or I was 13 years old.
It
And it's
did.
like, it was, and it even had dumb things, right? Like, it's so dumb. And people are like, who's this for? But it was for me at 13 years old because my parents were very the traditional Christian Catholic parents where it's like, yeah, we're fine with violence, but we don't want to see any cussing. And there's like there's a filter option, so I could toggle that bad boy if I knew like they might come in my room, or you know what I mean. So it was just like one of those things that I appreciated, and I was like somehow able to convince them. It was like the first M-rated game I was ever really allowed to like.
Wow,
They went out and bought for me, which was sick. Me and my cousin played it. Like that first Hammer of Dawn moment with some of like that boss fight was like one of the coolest boss fights I've ever had. Just like from the standpoint of me being like, holy shit, this is so cool. So yeah, like it holds a special place in my heart, and like playing 4 was just like, hell yeah, this is still Gears, but in a good way, not in a like, oh, this gameplay was just like, this is a lot of fun. So I hope I enjoy 5 at least.
Yeah, I remember when 4 came out that the reception behind it essentially was it's a good return for Gears. It still feel like it didn't. People were saying, at least from what I remember, that it didn't really do much different or new for the series, but it was just basically a fun, safe return with potential for the future, for where things could go from there in terms of like, okay, we've brought the series back. It still feels as good as it did before. It's still relevant and fun like it was before. Now, we would like to see you all do some new stuff, introduce newer things to it in Gears 5. And it seems like from the reception of Gears 5, they knocked out the park in terms of, hey, now we're taking the series in a slightly new direction of sorts. And it seems like it paid dividends. So I want to get back into Gears. I want to go through the trilogy and then 4 and 5. Like I told you, and like I talked about in the podcast before, the first game gave me motion sickness last year when I tried, and I was just like, "What the heck? Like, it never happened before." So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through the games because the first 3 games, apparent from what I've understood and read online, they all have the same camera issue, and then there's no way to like turn that off or anything. And if that camera is giving me an issue in the first game, it's going to be a long-standing thing. So unless I play that game in like hour, like 60-90 minute intervals at a time, and like there's no way I'm gonna be able to do it. And I don't want to sit and play a game in 60-90 minute intervals. That's a waste of my time. It'll take forever for me to get through the stuff. So
although with Gears, I mean, that's only like 4 to 5 sessions.
fair. I just prefer, if I'm gonna play a game, like do a nice long.
Yeah, I feel it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to, oh, here's my timer. Let me go take a break.
And I mean, that's understandable. Like, and Gears isn't for everyone. But I've always, it's like from a video game standpoint, I have a pretty wide taste, even though it's funny. I'll be like, I immediately dismiss certain games, but this just because like I'm honest about things that I could potentially enjoy usually. And so like, if I think there's any chance that I'll like something, I like to give it a shot if the chance is there. But like the dismissal of it feels like we grew up with a lot of dorks who got gate kept out of like sports and things like that. And then their retaliation was like, well, video games aren't for you. And it's like, get that shit out of my face. Like I like all kinds of video games, including, yes, dumb box office popcorn, bro, adrenaline, very, not, they're just like
very masculine, just like
homoerotically charged as well. Like,
yes, I understand entirely what you're saying.
Yeah, so like I love that kind of stuff as well in my games. By that same token, like I'm sure I will actually enjoy that game of Mori, and like I like, deeper and darker stuff. Doesn't really matter. I just want to have fun or enjoy what I'm doing. And so it's weird though. I kind of feel like that kind of game has like disappeared now. It's everything has to take itself super serious, or it has to be like so self-aware that it becomes annoying, like High on Life. And it's like Gears occupied this like kind of really fun middle ground. that I feel like is missing a little bit. Even from a gameplay standpoint, if it's not going to be something like Gears, like I just wish some games could operate that middle ground a little bit in tone more.
Interesting. Well, I'm happy you enjoyed Gears 4. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Gears 5. I know next week, depending on how much you get to do Gears 5, you may or may not have it beat before Atomic Heart comes out. And then Atomic Heart is going to overtake your gaming life.
Yes.
So
I'm beating that bad boy. I don't know how long it is. If it's 10 to 20, it's like 10 hours. I mean, shit, I'll have that done like Wednesday or Thursday. But if it's closer to 20, we'll probably be cutting it close. But I think I can get it done before next week's pod because we haven't really talked about it much, or we haven't talked about it at all. But I won't be here the week after that. So I want to get Atomic Heart done so I can like talk with you about it, review it, and everything on next week's pod. And then, you know, I'm probably gonna try and beat Metroid Prime in that like 2-week time span, even though I'm moving and everything. But yeah, like it's Switch too, so that works out a little bit better. Yeah. You know, you don't have to have everything out. So
cool. I'm looking forward to hearing all about them. For me this week, I have played some games. Not Hi-Fi Rush.
You got a little list here. You got a little listy list.
Yeah, a little bit of a list, a little something over here. Knockout City, I hopped into it this week because, you know, in light of the news that it's getting shut down, I said, no, I gotta jump in. I gotta play a little bit. I have to. And, you know, it's been a while since I played, so they have like the new Poison Ball now. They have like that sewer map, which I never played on before. I heard about, but never played on it. Cool maps. And like, again, it was just a fun time being back in that game. Like, it took me a little bit to remember how to do certain things, like how to pass the ball. I forgot. Oh yeah, this is how you pass. But like once I got past my first 2 matches or so, I was like, nah, we back in it. Like just back as if like I was playing it when it first came out, having a blast, casual, sweaty vibes and all like that. Like it was just such a good game. And I really meant to just play maybe like a couple matches, like 5 or so. I ended up playing, that ended up being the game I played that night, as is tradition with Knockout City. You only meant to play a few matches, you play for hours. And yeah, it was such a good time. And it's like, I'm going to be so sad when this game is gone. Like when
it's going to be a bummer for sure. Yeah.
When it shut down, it's going to be like, man, like you were so unique. You were unique in the type of multiplayer game that you were. It is a shame that you're going away.
I do wish it had a physical release too, because I'd probably bought it at some point, and then it'd be nice to just have like that commemoration, that dead disc in my collection.
You just open it, just like, man, how do I want to feel sad today? Let me look at the Knockout City disc.
Yeah,
you can do nothing for me now.
Plus, it probably have value because, you know, the game gets delisted. It's just like, oh, you know, like,
yeah,
keep that bad boy sealed.
Oh man. See, if I was a collector, if I had that collector mindset, I would do it. But again, it's gonna do nothing. Aside from being just like a paperweight after June, unfortunately.
Speaking of things that didn't do anything for people, you also played Forspoken.
Okay now. Forspoken.
I had to. It didn't do anything for you.
That was a good That was a very, very beautiful segue. Very funny one. Okay. Now, Forspoken. I've been playing it this week. I've played about 7 hours as of last night. I'm in chapter 4 of the game, which I would say is fairly early on story-wise, because the game, it starts off like...
Is it long?
From what I've heard, if you kind of like mainline story stuff, it could be like 20 hours or so. But at the pace I'm going, I don't know if it'll be 20 hours for me. It might be a bit longer. So light story spoilers for like the basic premise in the beginning of Forspoken. You know, you're Frey, starts off, you're in New York City, life's rough, life's hard. And that's like the first chapter. She ends up getting transported to Athia, wakes up there with the cuff on her wrist. We've seen the cutscene of her in that castle building where the dragon comes. That's all the very beginning of the game. That's chapter 2 of the game, actually, I think. Like, chapter 2 is her waking up at Athia, getting the powers and all. Chapter 3, she ends up in the city. Chapter 2, she's still in the city, but chapter 3, like, she leaves the city, goes to help someone, because she has a friend named Auden in the city who helps her, like, break out of jail. Auden is like, yeah, my dad was studying stuff. He might be able to help you get back home. And then you find the dad, You come back to the city, and he's like kind of sort of poisoned by the break, which is what has like corrupted all the creatures and other people in the world and everything like that. Um, and now you kind of come across one of the Tantas, which are the four villains, the four women who had power in the world. One of them comes to the town, they threaten you and everything. And now in this chapter 4, is the point where it's like, okay, now you're going after her. And now at this point is where the game really opens up some. Prior to this, the game was fairly linear and fairly handholdy. Like there was a point where when you go to find the dad, the game opens up a little bit. It's like, okay, you have this one section of the world that you can explore a bit, but you really need to go to this specific place, right? So it didn't open up entirely. It wasn't saying to you like, now you're free to explore at your own leisure. It's like you can kind of do it, but still go here, do the thing. Now where I am in the game, it's still kind of saying, hey, go and do the thing, but there's way more for me to explore as I'm going to that thing, which I appreciate, because the first hour and a half of this game of getting to Athia and like being freed from your prison, it's pretty slow.
Would you say it's the video game equivalent of Ambien and would make some people fall asleep while they're playing it?
Okay, perhaps. Yes, I did fall asleep while playing this game twice. Okay, once on the first night after that first hour and a half, and the second time was like a day or two later when I was playing. To be fair, though, I was also very tired when I was playing those nights. To be fair to the game, so I'm not blaming it entirely on the game.
But we don't have to be fair to Forspoken.
Okay, I'm not blaming it entirely on the game, but it is partially the game's fault. Okay.
To weigh in on the time, how long to beat says average main story is 14 and a half. People that rush it can get 11 hours. People, the leisure is 19 hours, and then the median is like 14 and a half.
All right, so then unless I'm just really taking my time, then I guess I'm halfway to this game at this point. Who knows? I don't think I am.
Well, 4 hours, that's like more of like a quarter to a third.
Well, I'm 7 hours into the game.
Oh, 7 hours. Oh, okay.
That's why I'm sitting here. I'm like,
a little bit of, you're probably not failing in combat, I imagine, but you're doing just enough exploring that you might hit that 20-hour mark anyways.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The game is slow. The opening of the game is slow paced. Okay. I don't have a problem with games being slow paced. Red Dead Redemption 2, slow opening hours. Kingdom Hearts 2, slow opening hours. I don't have a problem with it as long as it's engaging. Okay. That's my thing. Forspoken's opening hours, opening chapters, let's say the first 3 chapters of the game, because that's really the opening ones. The story is interesting, but what you're doing is not that engaging. Part of it is because presentation. You have different calibers of cutscenes. You have your cutscenes where like, okay, this was clearly a mocap cutscene and all like that, a budget cutscene. Then you have a tier under that where it's like not mocap, just like hand animated and all like that, the characters, in stuff and everything like that. When you have that lower tier cutscene happening, the characters, there's like a pause every time the characters speak. So like a character will say something like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's going well. This, and it's just like, why is there like the pause is long enough that it's awkward, and it's like, what the heck are we doing here? Why is this taking so long to talk? Why are we taking so long to get through this conversation? And like sometimes they'll say the lines back to back, but most of the time there's that pause, and it's like, why? It's annoying. It's very frustrating. And then well, and then there's this other thing where after these cutscenes happen, after these conversations happen, right? They'll be like, all right, Frey might like walk away, and then like she'll be stuck there, right? And Cuff will like have a little mini conversation of sorts. But it's like in any other game, I would be able to walk around while you all have this post cutscene conversation. No, I am locked into this position right here. I cannot move or do anything until this conversation is done. And then the conversation is done, and then like it's another 3-4 seconds before it says complete, or you're able to actually have control again. And these little things cause everything to take so long and drag on. So when it makes it less engaging and interesting, and I'm just like, oh my God, can we get a move on, please? And that's what was causing me to like end up so just like so bored, because I'm just like, if can we pick up the pace, please? Can we get through this stuff? The actual story, I think, is interesting. The gameplay, when you're out in the world fighting and everything, in this first bit of the game, I only have the rock powers. I still have not gotten the fire powers, but I'm on my way to take out the Tanta that has the fire powers. The combat is fun. The exploration is fun. All that stuff, that's engaging. I don't fall asleep when I'm doing that. I fall asleep when I'm in the city of Sepal, which is as dry and bland as it looks. Like visually, it's gray and brown and like whatever. But like, even when you're there, it's just like, okay, these things are fine, I guess, whatever. It's just like, oh my God. It's just
It's
like a drag to get through that first beginning part of the game.
it's hilarious in real time seeing a game turn into what is destined to be just a trivia question and or in a GameStop pile or clearance sale, just like, or older game store like 10 years from now, and just people go, oh shit, do you remember that game that we never heard of again? Because it's just, it's like not bad enough that it'll be like an infamy that we think about it as just this textbook example, yet it's definitely not good enough. And it ultimately shot its probably only chance at success in the foot with its weird marketing. It's like everyone wanted to dunk on it, but ultimately that's the only or maybe it was good because it got that discourse, and it seems like without that discourse, we might not have ever really talked about this game. It might have been like, oh, well, that came and went.
Well, you see, so like for me, when it comes to like the dialogue discourse with it, right? I don't mind the dialogue. I think it's fine. It's not anything like write home about, but it's fine. I'm not mad at it. Like I said, a lot of what I said in my demo impressions carries over to here, especially a bit more so now that I have the full game, the full context for everything. It's not just one isolated section. So like the repeating of lines between Frey and Cuff, that is a thing. It's still here. That could be a bit annoying. But like the banter that the two of them have, like outside of that, I like it. I don't mind it. The dialogue that Frey has with other characters, I don't mind it. It's fine for me, in my opinion. Um, the core gameplay, like the combat with the magic and everything. Again, right now, I only have the rock powers. I don't have the fire powers, so some of my exploration and combat is limited. But I'm still having fun with the combat, with the abilities at my disposal. I like I said before, the combat is good. I imagine it's switching between the rock powers and the fire powers will still probably be clunky like it was in the demo, but the core combat idea experience, it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy running around the world and everything. That's still fun. The world is still very empty. There's a narrative reason for it because the break, which is that corruption that corrupted things in the world, apparently killed 99% of the population of Athia. So most of the survivors are in the city of Sepal. So that's
what a
why.
tech demo ass video game.
What'd you say?
I said, what a tech demo ass video game. They're just like, there's a narrative reason that we didn't populate.
So so that's why the world is so empty, and why like you only really see like the corrupted zombies or corrupted animals out in the world. Like that's why it's so empty. Okay, I could buy there's a narrative reason for it, fine, whatever. The same activities that were in the demo, those are the same ones that are here and stuff in the full game. It is what it is. The world, it's not something to like, it's not a beautiful world, but like graphically the game is good looking. It's very detailed. The Luminous engine is a good engine. It's not knocking my socks off.
It's a tech demo. That's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not knocking my socks off though. I would not dare say this game is a beautiful game. There have been some nice sights, but it's not a beautiful game by any means. It's not what I would say. And then
otherwise it'd be like you need LASIK.
Exactly. And then I think one other thing that's been irking me is the fact that there is no compass in the game. There's no compass or mini map, right?
Wait,
so No, stick with me. Stick with me.
No, are we gonna gloss over the fact that you say compass as compass?
Compass, whatever. You know what I mean. Tomato, tomato.
I've never heard that in my life.
Okay. Well, there isn't one. There's not one of those. There's no mini map either. So the only map you have is, your full map. You press on the touchpad, you go over to the tab, your full map is there. Okay. This is a problem because because the world isn't like, there isn't anything in the world calling to you or speaking to you. Most of like the activities to do in the world, like, hey, let's go here and do this. Let's go here and get this from that. You have to go onto your map and place the markers for them. Okay, but you end up going into your map a lot to constantly see where things are and where you want to go, because the world is so barren and like kind of expansive. It's like, do I want to go in this direction to possibly find nothing, or is there something over here that's worth my time? And because of where I am in the game, I can't explore everything because I don't have my fire powers that will give me more traversal options. So there are some places that I can't reach right now. So it's like, all right, do I want to waste my time going in this direction, only see I can't get up there? Or do I go on my map to see what's over here? And like, because of that, is the constant of open my map, tag on this so I could go, so I know where to go. Open my map, tag on something else. It'd be so much better if you had a mini map, or at least a compass that had like, okay, locations of note, noteworthy locations that like on the compass. That way, I know, okay, maybe I can go in this direction. There's something over here. There's something over here, as opposed to having to constantly go into the map to be like, where is anything? It has the opposite problem of like Ghost of Tsushima or Breath of the Wild, where like the world begs you to go out and explore it. Whereas this, it's like, what is
Sounds
there?
like this game's like, we have nothing to explore. Please don't.
What is there to look for? Like, I'm not saying I'm not enjoying myself. All I'm saying is everything I knew from the demo is definitely still the case here. And there are new problems that have arisen as well. That said, though, I'm still enjoying the game. I'm still enjoying it. It's definitely like a 7 out of 10 as of right now. Maybe it could be an 8 on a good day. Who knows how I'll feel by the time I finish it? But it's
that does not sound like an 8 on a good day video game.
That's why I said maybe we'll see how it is when I finish it. But as of right now, Forspoken is definitely like a 7 out of 10 at best. That's why I'm on. That's why I am on it right now. Fun times. We'll see where it takes me though. So that's it for me with Forspoken. Unless you have anything else you want to ask me about it or say about it.
No, just that we've spent way too much time talking about Forspoken.
Spent a bit more time on it than I thought I was going to. Sea of Stars, though, which is actually very exciting. Very cool game here. The demo went live last week after the Nintendo Direct. I played it, not even gonna lie, right before we started recording this episode. It's good. It's good. It's a good game. Have you played the demo? Or
we talked about this.
Not, but are you interested in it?
Yeah, we talked about this. Remember, I was like, I don't remember that, and then I looked it up and I said, yeah, that's a no for me.
I forgot you said that. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Because I don't care for the retro aesthetic RPG. Because I have no, like obviously not everyone knows my gaming history, whatever. Because I'm sure they don't even know your full gaming history even after this many episodes of the pod. But I have no affinity, no nostalgia for like old Nintendo looking I don't have any nostalgia for 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit RPGs. And I played a little bit of Mario, but like I was born in 93. By 98, realistically, when I was playing video games, because I wasn't one of those kids that was playing them at 2 or 3. And people that say they have those memories, I'm sorry, but you're a liar. 4 is when I officially started accepting that people actually have memories, because I have like one memory of being 4. But yeah, so I was like 98, 99 is when I started playing games. And for me, that was like right when the 64 came out. And I played some Game Boy, but as we discussed in a previous episode, not a lot of handhelds. So like, I don't have this desire. I'm not immediately like, oh, cool, when a game intentionally evokes that style. And then another thing, when RPGs specifically are like that, it's even less so, unless it has, like, I would love to play Earthbound, for example, because similar to Undertale, it has that like, there's more than what appears here. and it's not like relying on traditional RPG and JRPG mechanics, and like it's trying to be its own quirky thing, which I kind of think is cool. But even then, I'm not like if I cared that much, I probably would have played it already, right? So it's not like I'm
Yeah.
like rushing, but I would like to play it one day. Maybe if they make it more easy and affordable. Is it even available digitally on the Switch? I don't know.
On
Um,
Earthbound, I don't know. I
yeah, it's
think it
just like
might be, but I don't quote me on that.
it's a Nintendo ass thing to make it that vague. Like PlayStation, I would know already, right? If that was the case, it'd be like, oh yeah, I can just go download it. Maybe I would have played it by now. But yeah, so I don't have this affinity for those types of games, and so when I see something like this, it's like it's just it does nothing for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been into it since the moment we first saw it. Like I love the visual aesthetic, the colors, the vibrancy, the animation, all like that. Music, gameplay seemed cool, so I was excited to play the demo, and the demo was fun. It's a cool demo. It's short. You can get through it 40 minutes to an
I was about to say,
hour.
how long is it?
Yeah, 40 to an hour. It's not that long. Like the very first section gives you like some light traversal, gives you like a fight or two to do as like a hey, here's your first little brush with it. If Pro tip for you, if you start the demo and just do new game and don't look at how to play, the game does not give you fights that say here's how to play. It has the how to play menu and the pause menu, but definitely just look at how do you play before you actually play the demo. And it's not going to stop and tell you this is how you do this and that and the third as you get to a fight.
Yeah. I am looking at the screenshots right now. I'll say maybe I saw some lower res. I do think it's a very, like you said, I think it's vibrant. I think it is a much nicer looking aesthetic than some of the ones. And seems like less hastily rushed, but also probably still I like still won't play it, especially because it looks like it's turn based. Am I correct?
It is turn based, yes. I was playing. It looks great on TV. I was playing it on my TV and not on my hand, not Switch handheld. But I'm sure it looks great handheld as well. But TV looked great. So I'll talk about the combat real briefly. The demo has you go into a cave, go into like this ancient wizard lab looking for something. There's narrative reason behind it, but it's a demo, so I'm not really caring too much about narrative right now. I'm just playing for the experience. The puzzles light, not too difficult. Again, whatever. But the turn based, the combat. So it is turn based. Yes, you have your three characters. You have your main guy. He's like has like sun abilities. You have your girl in the group. She has moon abilities, and then there's another guy who's just regular person. He's kind of like a thick guy. He is able to fight with no elements. He doesn't have any elemental abilities though. So the way it is when you start, you can switch between any of your characters at any point. Okay. So you have three party members, and say you have the sun person go, right? You can have him go on his turn, or you can switch to the moon girl or the regular guy. Any of them. You can switch between any of the three. Once one person goes, though, so say I have the sun guy go first. Now I have the moon girl and the regular guy. I cannot switch back to the sun guy. He's already gone. I can now only switch between the moon girl and the regular guy. Then once one of them goes, I only have one person left that I can attack with. Your enemies, they have a counter next to their head that says how many turns there are until they go. So it might say 2 next to them, which means that I'll get 2 turns of my people before they attack. And then I get a turn myself. And like every enemy might have different turn number counters. So like it might be 3, 2, 2, and you see how it goes. Above each of the enemies as well, sometimes there'll be like I'm going to say a roulette wheel of sorts, like a spinner that shows different affinities, I guess you could say. So, or resistances or weaknesses, vulnerabilities. So it might spit up and say, hey, there's 2 hits of sun, 2 hits of moon, right? And it'll have, their turn counter next to them. If you do enough, if you do the attack requirements that it comes up with before that enemy's turn, it skips their turn, essentially. So it locks them out of a move. So say an enemy has, again, let's say 1 sun, 1 sword up here, right? And then a hammer and a moon, right? That's like the different types of attacks that your weapons can do. So your sun person he has a sword. His weapons attacks are like sword and sun. Your moon girl, her attacks are moon and or hammer. And your regular guy, his attacks are just like hammer. Um, so what you could do is between let's that this is when it gets a bit tricky. It's tough to explain this without you actually seeing it. But this is when the balancing act comes in of okay, I have this enemy with these resistances above him or vulnerabilities above him, as well as two other enemies that have their different turns and stuff as well. I want to try and take him out and lock out his turn. So I'll have my sun guy do, his move, his sun and sword move on him to knock out two of his resistances. Then I'll have my moon girl do her moves to knock out the other two resistances. Now that person can't do any more moves. They're done. Like they're locked out the next turn or dead entirely, depending on how much health they had. That removes them off the board or locks them out for a turn. And now, you work from there. It's tough to explain without you actually seeing it. It's not the easiest thing to understand without actually seeing it play out in front of you. So I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it that well. But
all right,
it works.
I'm never playing this game anyways.
Right. But the thing is, it works so well. Like it took me a couple fights to like fully get the gist of it. But once I did, I was like, all right, I get that. And then each member of your party also has skills you can use that require MP. And you're encouraged to use the skills whenever you can, because you use your skills, they require a certain amount of MP. You get MP back by either you eating an item, of course, or you can do your regular attacks give you back MP. So you're encouraged, hey, don't just let your MP just like sit there wasted by doing regular attacks, because you're not getting any benefit from that. Use your skills and then do some more attacks. And your skills, they have, their elemental affinities on them and everything. They do more damage. So there's that aspect of things. And then there are combo attacks you can do where after every hit you do on an enemy, you raise like your combo square up a bit, and you get like, there are 3 ticks for it. And your different combo attacks require a certain amount of combo squares filled out. So one attack might require 1, one attack might require 3, depending on what combo move you're doing. But you do these combo moves with your party members, and it's just like, it's a nice combination of, all right, these different elements attacking at the same time. Mm-hmm. Then there's also this other thing where you hit an enemy and like orbs will fall out of them, and these are elemental orbs. So whatever character you're playing as can absorb them and get some sort of elemental energy that makes their next attack stronger or infuses their next attack with that element. So the sun or the moon character, you absorb it with them, their next attack is going to have that element on their attack, and it will be stronger on top of that. The human guy, I just get stronger, just stronger attacks from him. And then there's also a little mini thing in there that you could do if you want, but you don't have to, where if you press A right when your character attacks, it does more damage. Or if you press A right when an enemy is attacking you, to block, you'll take less damage. You don't have to do it, but it's a thing you can do if you want to try and maximize, your attacking or defending. But yeah, it's a cool system. The battle system is fun. There's nuance to it. There's depth to it. I like that you could switch between any of the characters at any time, as long as they have a turn available. That's really cool. Like the interplay, how it works with the fighting against your enemies and balancing. All right, who do I want to have attack based on enemy turns and what their affinities are and what they have planned coming up for me and like that. It's a nice balance, a nice mixture. It's a nice level of strategy and planning involved in it that I really appreciate. It reminds me kind of sort of Final Fantasy X to an extent, because Final Fantasy X was also a similar thing. If you could switch between anyone in the party at any time, and kind of sort of not very much Persona 5, but kind of sort of as well. It just really fun battle system we got going on here. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it continues to get fleshed out in the full game as you get more abilities, more different equipment and all like that, and just seeing the rest of the world too. Like it seems like it's going to be a nice world. There's a new nice little overworld as you're going from one place to another. Yeah, it's a beautiful game. Loving the art style and the aesthetic and everything. The music's great too. So definitely play the demo if you haven't. I'm looking forward to this game. August 29th, I believe, is when they said it comes out. So it's gonna be a great one. I'm looking forward to it.
Good to know. Good to know. Like you said, I will not be playing this game. I won one game I wish I could have played, but Steam only. That's always the biggest kick to the throat. Is just like when you're like, yeah, this looks rad, and then you're like, fuck, it's PC only. It's and I have a Mac, so I can't play it. But first game I'm playing when I get my Steam Deck is Pizza Tower. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's
I've heard of it.
A Wario Land style. Like the art style is so cool. I love it so much. It evokes like 90s Nickelodeon cartoons. Like it's so rad. And I didn't know, but now I want to play Wario Land because, well, we talk about me discovering Wario World, but also Wario Land, like that style of platformer, just looks really cool. So now I'm like into that, and I'm just like, oh shit, well, this looks cool. But Steam only, so I was like, damn. But it's first thing I do when I'm getting a Steam Deck, which once I have some disposable income, that's definitely like greater than symbol PSVR 2, because I'll get way more use of the deck. Slowly but surely, I'm like finding more reasons. Like I think I would actually like a Steam Deck. So like that'll be something I probably check out at some point.
Nice. Well, yeah, next week, be more Forspoken, maybe Atomic Heart. Depends on how I'm feeling on it. I might pass on Atomic Heart until later in the year. But definitely more Forspoken next week for me. Just waiting for Lightfall at this point. Lightfall will be the next big thing I play, aside from Forspoken. So looking forward to talking more about it. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Gears 5 and Atomic Heart next week. And that is it. That's it for us this week on the Play to Win podcast. Easy episode, breezy episode, I think. Thank you all so much for watching and or listening. Check out the site, playtowingames.wordpress.com. It's the home for all of our content. So check it on out. Hit us up, Twitter and Instagram at Play to Win Game. Follow us there for updates on the show. And also subscribe on YouTube. If you are here, check that notification bell, hit it. That way you know as soon as videos go live. I was about to say notifications go live. And also subscribe on podcast services, leave a 5-star review, and let us know what you think about Forspoken and Sea of Stars. Did I explain it well? It's a tough thing to explain. It's hard to explain without actually seeing it. But also, is Forspoken an ambient for you?
Yeah. Do you miss Gears of War? Let us know.
All of those things, all of it down below. Tyler, where can people find you?
Good Game We Lost on TikTok, Instagram, and here on YouTube.
Nice. You can follow me on Twitter at TylerMiller2496. Thank you all so very much for watching and or listening. We'll talk with you all next time.
Have a good one, everyone.